couple months ago, my good friend Pranav, who's now a freshman attending the University of Michigan, and I were at a senior graduation party when we decided to break apart from the group. Heading down to our local convenience store, we only had one goal in mind: to find the coldest iced lemonade possible. And as we left the store with ice cold lemonades in our hands, Pranav noticed a lottery ticket on the ground. In a joking manner, he picked it up, only for the both of us to realize that this ticket had been unscratched. So what did? We scratched the ticket. And to our surprise, we had actually won. Not enough money to make us financially free. But $100 was more than enough for the both of us to get the best cookies in town. Now, I want to give a quick disclaimer. This talk is one about probability, not about gambling against your odds. But on the topic of lottery tickets, whether it's finding one off the ground, purchasing one over the counter, or a reporter announcing the winning numbers, or you scratching for a match, subconsciously, we all think in the back of our heads, what if this ticket is the one? What if I've just struck it gold? After all, there has to be a winner, so why can't that person be me? And this process of thinking like this actually derives from a famous mathematician called John Littlewood. He's now best known for his law, Littlewood's law, which states that on average, a human being can experience a 1 in a million chance every month, specifically every 35 days. So I want you to think, what was your 1 in a million this month? Was it seeing a shooting star in the sky? Finding out someone has the exact same name and birthday as you? Or maybe it was a lottery ticket. But whatever it was, chances are you don't know. And that's because as rare as Littlewood's law is, it's just as random. And oftentimes, our 1 in a million is completely irrelevant to our daily lives. So if Littlewood's law can show up in any way, shape, or form, then it definitely can show up in the way that we're raised. And for me, that was being raised in an Asian household with very austere parents. Growing up, I wasn't like other children that spent their times outside, creating fond childhood memories. Instead, majority of my time was spent indoors, reading textbooks and solving math problems. And by age 10, I was engaged in a variety of different extracurricular activities, such as sports like soccer, swimming, cross country, to music and instruments like guitar, piano, clarinet. This process of continuously moving but never stopping made it so that I wasn't passionate about any of the things that I did. I was a jack of all trades and a master of none. In the process of always moving and never being stationary, continued its way from as young as 10 years old all the way up to when I got into high school. And by that time, my friends around me, all high achievers, started to figure out what they wanted to do. Friends that wanted to major in computer science created clubs dedicated to AI and programming, while other friends that had a spike in the environment created clubs dedicated to planting trees. I was just a mere member among these clubs. But in reality, when I found what I wanted to do, I was lost and uncertain. And quickly, I felt like an imposter among my group of friends. And it wasn't until sophomore year where I decided that had to change. So I created my own club, a business club. Not because I was interested in business, but because that was the only club that no one had created by then. But with no passion, no commitment, meetings fell flat, and the club tanked as a whole. Just like that, I was back to square one, lost and uncertain. And this process continued until my junior year of high school, where finally I told myself, I had to change things once and for all. So what started off as a typical school day quickly turned atypical in the afternoon, where I decided to grab my keys and drive to Boston. Because to me, that was a space where I had all the time in the world to think, to get away from everyone and everything. And upon arriving in Boston, as I walked around the streets, maybe I was waiting for my one in a million, but it never came. I was simply the same person in a bigger city. And as night fell and I started walking back to my car, did I notice a stranger in the oncoming way. He was tall, dressed in a suit, and his hair was groomed to perfection, looking like Harvey Specter from the TV show Suits. And as I got closer and closer to him, I realized he gave out this sense of aura, a sense that screamed to me. And at that moment, I wanted to be exactly like what he was doing. So I asked him, what did he do for a living? And he told me he was a financial consultant at a very notable consulting firm in Boston. I had no idea what that was. So I asked him, what was that? And we must have chatted for around what seemed like half an hour, where I told him my struggles of feeling lost and uncertain with what I wanted to do in life. And he gave me lots of advice. Even told me that I would thrive in the finance field because people that are well-rounded, that know how to do countless of different things, have it easy when it comes to connections. And connections is a key to success in the industry. But the one line that he told me that stuck with me to this day is that you're not defined by being lost, but what you do about being lost. And driving home that night, I didn't know it then, but that was my one in a million that month. In the following school days that occurred, it wasn't like immediately something changed, but it was a process. However, I was no longer the same person I once was, waiting for something to change. Instead, I took action. I talked to people, faces I've seen countless of times in the hallways but never dared to approach. And as I finally talked to them, did I realize that, hey, I was good at making connections because I made a lot of new friends. And then I followed up by asking myself a question. Do I even like the field of finance? But clearly, I didn't know because I didn't even know what a consultant was. So every day for the next few months, for 30 minutes a day, I studied. I read the Wall Street Journal. I learned about basic financial literacy terms, like the difference between a traditional individual retirement account and a Roth individual retirement account. I learned tools like the capital asset pricing model that helps us calculate the expected return rate of a stock. And throughout this entire process, I realized I had my answer. For the first time in my entire life, I didn't feel forced to do something, forced to learn something. I was connected to my education. And it was then I realized that I had found my passion, the field of finance. Taking from what I've noticed and what I asked myself, I decided to act. You guys remember that failed business club I created in my sophomore year? Well, I revived it, this time focusing on financial literacy instead. Every week, we go down to local community centers and we raise awareness for financial literacy, whether that be teaching kids as young as 5 years old to adult immigrants from other countries wanting to learn about the US retirement system. And in just less than a year, I managed to create a mere dead business club into a nonprofit organization that has over 50 chapters established across the US and even 3 chapters internationally. I managed to raise over thousands of dollars for this nonprofit organization, as well as accumulate over 500,000 views on social media and 10 plus partnerships. Additionally, around the same time, I enlisted in a competition, the National Personal Finance Challenge, where over 20,000 students a year take part in this, a financial consulting competition. And I actually managed to place top 16 nationally at this competition. So in less than a year, I went from someone that had no idea what I wanted to do with my life to figuring it all out. It wasn't because I was smarter than everyone else, more talented. It was because I was more passionate. Because passion beats everything. It always does. Now, while I found my love and passion for the field of finance, my hope is that you can do the same. And if you're lost, that's okay, because I understand how incredibly painful and lonely that can feel. But remember, you're not defined by being lost, but what you do about it. Now, there was one more thing that consultant told me in Boston, and that was to take our conversation as an act of serendipity. Because ultimately, what I choose to do with the conversation is in my own hands. But that's the power of showing up, of being present. Because in life, there's no such thing as randomly figuring things out. It's your actions that determine your results. So if there's one thing that you can take away from today, it's 3 words: notice, ask, and act. Today, I want you to notice something, anything. For me, that was noticing I was good at talking to people. Tomorrow, I want you to ask yourself a question, one that follows up the first question of what you noticed. For me, that was, did I even like the field of finance? And finally, act. Actions speak louder than words do. Act on what you asked yourself, what you noticed. And for me, that was creating a nonprofit organization. Do that, and your life stops becoming 1 in a million. But through showing up and hard work, you create your own chances. You create your own luck, your own 1 in a million chances. My talk started off about a lottery ticket. But by now, you should see that it was never about that. It was about finding yourself, finding your passion. Remember, life doesn't give you 1 in a million chances. It hands you 1 in a million moments. So take one and find your passion. Thank you.